Hey, this is Paul with MakeUseOf.com. And Beyerdynamic just came out with their first ever wireless earbuds. These are the Byrds. And similar to their other headphones that they're known for, these have a focus on premium sound and quality. And if you do prioritize things like really impressive battery life, comfort, as well as a few other cool features that we'll cover in this review, these are a really good choice. So let's check them out. But at $249, these are definitely on the more pricey side, and they also face a lot of competition from the big names like Sony WF-1000XM4, horrible name, the Bose Quiet Comfort Earbuds, and the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 3. And of course, you can't forget about the AirPods Pro. These are actually my favorite true wireless earbuds, and throughout this review, I'll actually be making a lot of comparisons because I know this is a name everyone has heard of and probably one that a lot of people are considering. A lot of pros going for these, no pun intended, which would perhaps sway you to buy these over the AirPods Pro. Overall, the Byrd feels like a pretty complete product with top-end specs that mostly match or beat the competition. In addition to accessing your phone's default smart assistant, you can also choose to use the built-in Alexa app as well. It has the latest Bluetooth 5.2, which provides fast and reliable connectivity. Even at further distances, there are minimal dropouts. It supports several codecs, including Qualcomm aptX, Adaptive, and AAC. It also has a low latency mode that's available for gaming when you need it. In addition to your typical Bluetooth pairing process, it also supports Google Fast Pairing. So if you have a compatible device like the Google Pixel 6, after you put this into its pairing mode, which is a little bit non-intuitive, you're actually able to then touch this to the back of your phone and your phone should detect it on screen. How do you pair these? So you open the case up with the earbuds still in place. You, on either one, will tap and hold, and then its lights will start flashing blue and orange, indicating that it's now in pairing mode. But to double tap and hold on the second tap, it's not very intuitive. Unlike with the AirPods, I'm pretty sure I bought these, I just opened the case and my phone automatically detected it. Didn't have to go into any settings, didn't have to press any buttons on here, it just worked. And in terms of simplicity, obviously you can't beat something like that. And of course, that's one of the main selling features of an Apple product. These don't support multi-point pairing, and if you're not familiar with that, it basically allows this to be connected to 2 or even more devices at the same time. So it could be your computer and your phone. And say, for example, you're watching a movie or listening to music on your computer. If you get a phone call, the phone is going to take over as the priority device, and you can answer the phone call there. When you hang up from that call, it will automatically resume playing the media that you were playing on your computer. It's a very handy feature, and it's one of the reasons really that AirPods, whether you get the Pro or even the non-Pro versions, are so impressive, is that you can connect to your iPad, you can connect to your MacBook, you can connect to your iPhone, and it somehow intelligently, for the most part, can tell which device you're actively listening to music or media on, and it prioritizes that, plays it from that device, and then when you switch devices or you hand off, continue working on another, it'll switch and start working on that other device. Very cool feature. While these do not support multi-point pairing, you can pair up to 6 devices at the same time. What you'll need to do to switch devices is connect to it in the Bluetooth settings. So if it's already connected through a phone and you're trying to switch off to your tablet, you'll need to connect to it again on your tablet. That said, you don't need to put this into pairing mode each time you want to switch devices. It's a little bit easier than doing that, but it's still not a perfect solution. Similar to other wireless earbuds, the Byrd can detect when they are in your ears or they're pulled out to automatically resume or pause your media. This feature works pretty well, and I never ran into issues with its detection. In your box, Beyerdynamic includes a generous selection of ear tips, including 5 pairs of silicone and 3 pairs of foam. If you're someone who tends to struggle with finding an earpiece and you're not quite a medium, you're not quite a small, that's sometimes a downside to silicone ear tips. Foam, on the other hand, contours and shapes to your ear a lot better. And because it's so soft and it kind of expands and is more plushy, it gives you that better fit. So while you might not be a small, maybe a medium, just fits into your ear a little bit better with the foam. And overall, I think that foam is the more comfortable fit. It also just feels a little bit more secure. And the other benefit of having a foam tip is that it actually helps with that passive noise isolation and gives you better bass reproduction too. It might not be too obvious, but these are actually rather large and for the category, somewhat heavy too. At 7 grams, they're about 0.3 grams lighter than the Sony 1000 WX whatever. Again, horrible name. I'll never remember that. They just need to simplify their product lineup. When these are actually in your ear, I'm not feeling the weight, and even though these are larger, and I hope I'm not talking too loud, they stick out of your ear quite a bit, which is good, but it also has a downside. It's good because that largeness isn't actually touching any of your main parts of your ear, so it never really bothers you, unless you're trying to lean against something. And so that can be a downside, again, especially for comfort. Like I said, you're trying to just relax with these on. Not as comfortable of a pair to have when you're doing that. But when you're just wearing these, relaxing, working out, this actually is a good design because, again, it's comfortable for a longer period of time. Whereas with some earbuds that are either the same size or smaller, they don't stick out as much. That starts to get annoying as it's touching the actual inside parts of your ear. A downside to this larger size being more extruded outwards is that it tends to maybe not feel as secure. If you look at any of the marketing for these earbuds online, you never really see anyone working with the exception of, I guess, some yoga poses. That's not to say you can't like run, jog, or work out in these, but I kind of felt myself more adjusting or making sure that they were still in my ear securely. Compared to the AirPods, it sticks out enough that it's almost top heavy, where it almost feels like, again, that weight is outside, whereas in here, it's more centered and pulled down into your ear. And similar to their other full-size headphones, these are pretty natural sounding. They're not very bass heavy like those Sony W whatevers. Instead, it's a more accurate representation of what the artist created. But for users who do want that extra punch, of course, there are EQ presets within its app. That said, you can't customize those EQ presets or create your own, so that is a bit of a downside in its current state. One of the nice things though, I think just right out of the box, I mean, I did have a pretty enjoyable listening experience. They're not overpowering. I sometimes find that Sony headphones out of the box, again, those W1000s, your highs and mids sound clear even at higher volumes. Nothing ever sounded distorted or muddied. And while I haven't had the opportunity to review them, I think the Freebird more closely competes with the Sennheiser Momentum Wireless 3s, which are also prioritizing that purest experience. These, of course, also have ANC, which is active noise cancellation, and so that allows it to filter out more unwanted noise. It's especially good for trips where you're on planes and trains, and I actually had the opportunity to try this in a few environments, including a train. I think it does a good job at filtering out those low rumbles. But when it comes to dialogue, sometimes you don't want to listen to people. I also think the AirPods Pro have these beat by quite a bit. I could hear a lot, like it's quieter for sure, but I could definitely still hear a lot of that dialogue, whereas with this, it was more like a like kind of like a Peanuts cartoon. So if you need really good ANC, these might be a bit of a letdown. Whether it's the Freebirds or my full-size Sonys, I tend not to mess with companion apps too much. I just want the headphones to work out of the box. These do, but there are a few additional settings that you can get out of the app if you want to. You can make changes to the ANC, you can choose your voice assistant, whether it's the default or to use Alexa. You can also create a custom sound profile which somehow tunes it to your ears, and of course you can change that EQ. There's also a low latency mode. Its low latency mode is especially useful for games like Call of Duty or PUBG, where you really need to rely on sound to stay alive, and you can perform a factory reset. But the real star of the show, I think, is in the case and the battery. It's a larger case than the AirPods Pro. It feels about the same weight. In fact, I can't tell much of a difference. This is probably just a little bit heavier. It doesn't feel cheap in the hand, but it definitely feels not as premium, I would say, compared to the AirPods Pro. You can tell that this opens up and closes pretty well. I'm not concerned about this breaking because I can tell that there's like a metal piece back there, so I don't think it's gonna have any issues of like plastic snapping. These earbuds stand out for their long battery life, giving you up to 11 hours on a single charge with ANC off, or up to 30 hours with its case. And that's one of the things, you do have a larger case and it's bulky and not as easy to put in your pocket, especially compared to the AirPods Pro case, which is just slimmer, just fits in a little bit nicer into weirder and tighter pockets. But the trade-off is you get way longer battery life with these. Its 11 hours is beyond impressive, considering these only last about 4 hours. The Sony W whatevers last about 8, maybe. So you've already got 3 hours more than another pair of headphones that cost about the same amount. That's also considered one of the best in its category right now. When you consider that on a single charge, these last almost half a day, that's crazy. So any trip, even if you forget to charge these, you're probably good on battery life. Whereas with these, if I've used these a couple times and I haven't charged the case, there's a good chance these might be dead. And the one last thing I want to revisit are its controls. Similar to other earbuds, you're able to pause and play music with taps, and then tap and hold is how you increase your volume if you do it on your right side. Doing it on the left side will decrease it. You can also double tap to enable ANC or disable it, and you'll actually get a voice prompt telling you it's been enabled or disabled. Transparency. Bit of a delay when the voice comes on, and I actually kind of wish it didn't have that voice. The controls do take a little bit of getting used to, but I find they're pretty accurate, and for the most part I haven't had any issues with the controls. So the biggest surprise to me with this whole review is that these are their first earbuds. They might not be perfect in every category like I said, but they do a lot right, and the most important thing for a lot of people is going to be that listening experience, which they definitely nail. Battery life, for a lot of people, especially if you're a big commuter, this is going to be a big selling feature of this, and might be the main reason you would want to buy these over anything else on the market. Right now, honestly, the biggest thing holding it back for me not making it my new favorite pair is that I'm already in the Apple ecosystem, so you can't hold that against it. If the case was a little bit smaller, you'd probably have worse battery life, which takes away from, again, one of its biggest selling features. So that is a trade-off you need to deal with. The size and fit is comfortable, but again, like I said, can be a little bit awkward for a few situations, working out maybe being one of them. This makes a solid argument right now. If I was an Android user and I wanted a premium listening experience, these are probably one of the top choices you can get. So thank you again for checking out this video. If this review was helpful, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. This has been Paul with Make Use Of, and until the next one, we'll catch you later.